Have the appropriate tools ready. Place the computer flat on the table with the screws facing up. Make sure the display hinge is away from you, no cables are connected, and the power is off. Remove 4 pentalobe screws. The front and rear pentalobe screws look alike but have 2 different shoulder lengths, so keep them separated. Notice the locations of the 4 internal snaps. Use a suction cup to disengage them. Avoid pressing on the areas that have already been disengaged. Insert the flat end of 2 black sticks in the vent area to simultaneously pry open the space between the bottom case and the top case. Then, wearing cut-resistant gloves, work carefully to loosen opposite corners one at a time to prevent the bottom case from scratching the top case. Lift the bottom case from the front about 10 millimeters. Then pull the bottom case off and set it aside. If installing a new bottom case, copy the serial number from the original case to the inside of the new case using a fine-tip permanent marker. Then go to the reassembly instructions. If removing the bottom case to access another repair, go to the next step. Attach the protective battery cover. Use a Torx T3 screwdriver to remove the 2 screws from the battery connector cowling. Then, reposition the cowling and reinstall the 2 screws using a T3 bit in a blue torque driver. Listen for the click that tells you the screws are tightened to specification. Remove the battery cover. When attaching the bottom case, the 4 retaining slots need to slide in place with the 4 screws, shown here at the speakers. Reposition the computer so the display hinge faces you. To prevent top case scratches, hold the farther end of the bottom case about 10 millimeters above the trackpad. Wearing gloves, slide the bottom case to align one of the corners near the display clutch. While sliding the bottom case, be sure to press the retaining slot area at the hinge. With the screw hole aligned, loosely install the first long shoulder pentalobe screw. Then slide the other rear corner of the bottom case into place while pressing the retaining slot area. Align the screw hole. Then loosely install the second long shoulder pentalobe screw. Press the edges of the bottom case at the 4 internal clips. Loosely install the remaining pentalobe screws, making sure that the 2 with the shorter shoulder are at the front. Then hand tighten all 4 screws. Refer to the service guide to run the appropriate diagnostics. Have the appropriate tools ready. The lid angle sensor is a thin flex cable that runs from the interposer board to the sensor at the display clutch. To prepare for this procedure, the bottom case has been removed, the protective battery cover is attached, and the battery flex cable is disconnected. So let's get started. To reach the upper end of the lid angle sensor, use a Torx Plus 3IP 25mm hex bit in a torque driver to remove the right clutch cover screw. The clutch cover is easier to remove using the keycap lever tool, so let's apply an adhesive strip to the small end of the keycap lever. Press and hold the keycap lever on the clutch cover for 5 seconds. Then tilt up the clutch cover and lift it out of the top case. Remove the tool and adhesive from the clutch cover and set them aside. Remove the 2 T3 screws from the lid angle sensor audio board cowling. Then use tweezers to remove it. Now we can see the full length of the lid angle sensor flex cable. Use a black stick to disconnect the lid angle sensor connector from the interposer board. Use your fingers to carefully peel the lid angle sensor flex cable straight up from the audio board. Now, use a Torx Plus 1IP 44mm half-moon bit to remove the single screw and cable from the top case. Retrieve the screw with tweezers if necessary. If the display is replaced, the lid angle sensor must also be replaced. However, a new lid angle sensor can be installed without installing a new display. Place the lid angle sensor flex cable in the top case and install the 1IP screw. If you're installing a replacement lid angle sensor flex cable, remove the adhesive backing on the cable. Connect the other end of the lid angle sensor cable to the interposer board. Use the flat end of a black stick to gently adhere the cable length to the audio board. Install the lid angle sensor audio board cowling and use the blue torque driver for the 2 T3 screws. Listen for the click from the torque driver. Finally, install the clutch cover and use an adjustable torque driver set to 10 Newton-centimeters to reinstall the single 3IP screw. Refer to the service guide to complete reassembly. Have the appropriate tools ready. The left and right speakers with antennas are paired and are not interchangeable. If removing one speaker to reach another part, be sure to reinstall the same one. If one or both require replacement, replace them as a matched pair. To prepare for this procedure, the bottom case has been removed. The protective battery cover is attached, and the battery flex cable is disconnected. First, let's use a Torx T3 screwdriver to remove 7 T3 screws from 3 cowlings. Don't forget the middle screw under the foam strip. Use tweezers to remove the 3 cowlings. Then disconnect the longer antenna cable. Disconnect the right speaker flex cable. Use a 3IP bit and a torque driver to remove the clutch cover screw. Now, let's remove the clutch cover. Apply a VHB strip to the small side of the keycap lever. Press and hold the keycap lever on the clutch cover for 5 seconds. Then pull the lever toward you with the clutch cover attached. Set it aside. Using a 4IP bit and a torque driver, remove 2 screws from the speaker body. Finally, use a Torx T5 screwdriver to remove the last screw next to the display hinge. Lift the outer end of the right speaker and slide it toward the side to clear the display flex cables. Position the right speaker so the antenna cable is under the display flex cables. Install one T5 screw using an adjustable torque driver set to 11.5 Newton-centimeters. Use the same adjustable driver set to 20.5 Newton-centimeters to install the two 4IP speaker screws. Position the antenna cable and press the connector with the flat end of the antenna tool. Then connect the right speaker flex cable. Install the 3 cowlings and use the blue torque driver with the T3 bit to install the 7 cowling screws. Adhere the same foam strip over the display cowling. Position the clutch cover and use the adjustable driver set to 10 Newton-centimeters to install the single 3IP screw. Refer to the service guide to complete reassembly, run system configuration, and appropriate diagnostics. Have the appropriate tools ready. The left and right speakers with antennas are paired and are not interchangeable. If removing one speaker to reach another part, be sure to reinstall the same one. If one or both require replacement, replace them as a matched pair. To prepare for this procedure, the bottom case has been removed. The protective battery cover is attached, and the battery flex cable is disconnected. Use a 3IP bit and a torque driver to remove the clutch cover screw. The clutch cover is easier to remove using the keycap lever tool, so we applied an adhesive strip to the small end of the keycap lever. Press and hold the keycap lever on the clutch cover for 5 seconds. Pull the lever toward you to remove the clutch cover. Set it aside. Use a Torx T3 screwdriver to remove 4 T3 screws from the speaker and antenna cowlings. Then use tweezers to remove the 2 cowlings. Disconnect the left speaker flex cable with a black stick. Then disconnect the shorter antenna cable. Remove 2 4IP screws from the speaker body. And finally, use a T5 driver to remove the single screw. Use a black stick to lift the outer end and remove the speaker with antenna cable from the top case. Slide the inner end of the left speaker into the top case and install the single screw with a T5 bit and a torque driver set to 11.5 Newton-centimeters. Set the adjustable torque driver to 20.5 Newton-centimeters and install the 2 4IP speaker screws. Use the flat end of an antenna tool and a black stick or tweezers to connect the antenna connector. Connect the left speaker flex cable. Then position both cowlings and use the blue torque driver with the T3 bit to reinstall the 4 cowling screws. Install the clutch cover and use the adjustable torque driver with the 3IP bit set to 10 Newton-centimeters to install the clutch cover screw. Refer to the service guide to complete reassembly. Have the appropriate tools ready. To prepare for this procedure, we removed the bottom case, attached the protective battery cover, disconnected the battery flex cable, and removed both speakers and clutch covers. Open the display and hang it over the edge of the table. Use either a Torx T3 screwdriver or torque driver with a T3 bit to remove 2 screws from the display cowling. Use the flat end of a black stick to disconnect the EDP and camera flex cables. Remove 2 T3 screws from the lid angle sensor audio board cowling. Use tweezers to remove the cowling. Disconnect the lid angle sensor flex connector. Peel the cable from the audio board. Now use an 8IP screwdriver to remove the 6 screws from the display hinges. Hold the display by both sides and pull it toward you, just short of full extension. Then lift the display up and off the top case. Align the display with the top case. Make sure the EDP and camera flex cables are positioned inside the top case. Hang the display over the table edge. Starting with the middle screw at each hinge, loosely install the 6 8IP screws in the order shown. With the screws installed partway, close the display. Check for alignment to the top case by pinching the front corners where the display and top case meet. Stand the computer vertically on a clean ESD mat to adjust front to rear clutch alignment. With display and top case aligned, use a torque driver set to 0.6 Newton-meter to tighten all 6 8IP hinge screws following the same order. Reconnect the EDP and camera flex cables. Then use a T3 bit and a blue torque driver set to 11.5 Newton-centimeters to reinstall the 2 screws. Double-check the flex cable connection. Connect the lid angle sensor flex connector. Use a black stick to adhere the cable, and reinstall the cowling and 2 T3 screws with the blue torque driver. Refer to the service guide to complete reassembly, run system configuration, and appropriate diagnostics.